We live in an age of endless wanting. A new phone, a better job, more likes, more followers, the cycle never ends. Every time we get what we want, it feels good for a moment, and then the hunger returns, stronger than before. Why? Because human life is not ruled by logic, but by what Schopenhauer called the will, a blind force that keeps us chasing, never satisfied. In today's world of consumerism and digital addiction, this truth is more relevant than ever. The question is, can we ever escape this cycle of endless desire? Schopenhauer believed that behind everything we do lies a hidden force he called the will. Unlike reason, which is conscious and logical, the will is blind, irrational, and uncontrollable. It pushes us to act, to desire, to struggle, even when we don't fully understand why. Think about it: hunger drives us to eat, fear drives us to run, attraction drives us toward love. We don't choose these impulses, they arise on their own. According to Schopenhauer, the same is true for almost all of life. We imagine that we are making rational decisions, but in reality, we are servants of this deeper will. The will is not about happiness, it's about survival and continuation. It doesn't care if we are content, it only cares that we keep wanting, keep striving, keep chasing. That's why even when we achieve our goals, the satisfaction fades quickly. The will immediately replaces one desire with another, keeping us trapped in an endless cycle. In today's world, this idea feels strikingly familiar. Why do we crave the newest phone, the next promotion, the next notification on social media? It's because the will never lets us rest. Modern life has only amplified Schopenhauer's insight, turning natural impulses into an unstoppable storm of desires. Understanding the will means recognizing that we are not as free as we think. We are pushed by forces inside us that rarely ask for permission. But with awareness comes the possibility of breaking free, or at least loosening the chains. Schopenhauer argued that life is built on suffering, and at the heart of this suffering is desire. The moment we want something, we feel restless and incomplete. Desire creates a gap between what we have and what we crave, and until that gap is closed, we feel uneasy. But here's the twist: even when we finally achieve what we want, the relief is only temporary. Think about buying something new. At first, there's excitement, maybe even joy. But after a few days or weeks, the excitement fades, and a new desire takes its place. The cycle starts again: longing, chasing, achieving, then longing once more. This endless repetition is what Schopenhauer believed makes suffering unavoidable. Modern psychology supports this. Research on the hedonic treadmill shows that humans quickly return to a baseline of dissatisfaction, no matter how much they gain. We always adapt, always want more. That's why winning the lottery, buying a dream house, or achieving career success doesn't bring lasting happiness. Desire simply resets itself. In the modern world, where advertising, media, and social platforms constantly tell us what we should want, this cycle intensifies. We're not only chasing our natural desires, we're bombarded with manufactured ones. The pressure to always reach the next level keeps us restless and unsatisfied, exactly as Schopenhauer predicted. To him, desire is a trap. It promises happiness but delivers only brief relief followed by more longing. True peace, he believed, comes not from fulfilling every desire but from learning how to step outside the cycle itself. If Schopenhauer could see the modern world, he would probably say, "I told you so." His idea of the will, a blind, endless force of desire, finds its clearest expression in today's consumer culture. Everywhere we turn, we're encouraged to want more. Advertisements don't just sell products, they sell identities. A new car isn't just a vehicle, it's a symbol of success. A new phone isn't just technology, it's proof you're keeping up. The moment one desire is fulfilled, another appears, faster than ever before. Companies rely on this cycle. It's not a flaw in the system, it is the system. Social media intensifies it. Platforms are designed to fuel comparison, making us crave the lifestyles, bodies, and possessions we see online. We start believing we are incomplete until we buy or achieve what others have. This is the will in its most modern form, restlessness dressed up as progress. Even worse, this consumer-driven will doesn't end with material goods. It shapes how we view relationships, careers, even self-worth. We want more money, more recognition, more validation. And each win only leads to another craving, never true satisfaction. Schopenhauer would argue that consumerism has taken humanity's natural tendency to desire and weaponized it. Instead of helping us live peacefully, society now thrives on keeping us unfulfilled. The marketplace profits from our dissatisfaction, and we, unknowingly, play along. When we step back, we see the truth: buying more, upgrading endlessly, or chasing social validation never silences the will. It only feeds it, and the more we feed it, the hungrier it becomes. Schopenhauer described the will as a blind, restless force, pushing us to keep wanting, keep chasing. Now imagine that force plugged into the endless scroll of the digital world: social media, streaming, gaming, notifications. This is where the will has found its most powerful playground. Think about it: you pick up your phone just to check one thing, and suddenly an hour is gone. Each swipe, each click, each notification promises a tiny hit of satisfaction. But the satisfaction never lasts. The will keeps whispering, one more video, one more update, one more scroll. Social media platforms, gaming companies, and streaming services all understand this psychology. They design their systems to exploit the very restlessness Schopenhauer described. Infinite scrolls, autoplay, and reward systems are not accidents. They're engineered ways of keeping the will alive, restless, and hungry. This isn't just about wasting time. It shapes how we think and live. Our attention becomes fragmented. Our sense of self-worth ties itself to likes, comments, and follow accounts. We begin measuring our value by digital approval, not inner fulfillment. Schopenhauer would say we've surrendered to the will on a global scale. Billions of people trapped in an endless cycle of craving digital validation. And here's the irony: the more connected we are, the more restless and lonely many feel. Because the will doesn't let us rest. It thrives on the endless chase, not the arrival. Digital addiction, then, isn't just a modern health problem. It's a perfect example of Schopenhauer's philosophy in action. The will has gone online, and it doesn't log off. If Schopenhauer believed life is driven by restless desire, did he also believe we are doomed? Not entirely. He offered ways to soften the grip of the will: temporary escapes, not permanent solutions, but powerful nonetheless. One path is art. When we listen to music, look at a painting, or read poetry, something happens: we step outside our endless wanting. For a brief moment, we stop chasing, and instead, we contemplate. Music, especially, was Schopenhauer's highest form of art because it speaks directly to the will, expressing emotions beyond words. In our modern world, this could be as simple as losing yourself in a song, not as background noise, but as a true experience. Another path is philosophy and reflection. When we slow down to question our desires, to ask, why am I chasing this? Does it actually matter? We create distance between ourselves and the will. Today, this might look like journaling, deep reading, or even having meaningful conversations about life instead of drowning in small talk and digital noise. And then there's mindfulness. Schopenhauer didn't use the term, but the idea is there. When we practice presence, through meditation, nature walks, or simply sitting quietly, we become aware of our craving without being consumed by it. We see the will at work, but we don't have to obey it. These escapes aren't about rejecting life. They're about finding stillness within it. Schopenhauer knew we can't destroy the will, but we can learn to step outside its grasp, even if just for moments. And those moments may be the closest we get to real peace in a restless world. So, what does Schopenhauer ultimately teach us about living in today's restless, digital, consumer-driven age. The lesson is not to deny ambition or shut ourselves away from the world, but to recognize the forces that control us. The will, the endless drive for more, is not evil, but it is blind. If we live without awareness, it drags us from one craving to the next, leaving us empty even when we achieve what we thought we wanted. For the modern individual, the first lesson is awareness. Notice the cycle, the excitement of wanting, the fleeting pleasure of having, and then the return of wanting again. Once you see the pattern, you realize the problem isn't you, it's the way desire itself works. The second lesson is moderation. Ambition and progress can be powerful, but they need balance. Without limits, the will consumes everything. By setting boundaries, on work, on technology, on consumption, we reclaim some control. The third lesson is seeking higher escapes. Instead of being trapped in the shallow desires of consumerism or digital validation, we can aim for deeper experiences, creating rather than consuming, connecting rather than comparing, reflecting rather than reacting. And finally, Schopenhauer reminds us of compassion. Since everyone is driven by the same restless will, empathy becomes essential. We're all struggling with desire, frustration, and suffering. Understanding this can make us more patient with others and with ourselves. In the end, Schopenhauer doesn't hand us a cure but a mirror. He shows us why happiness slips away so quickly and why peace is so rare. The real challenge is not to eliminate desire, that's impossible, but to learn when to step back, when to redirect it, and when to simply let it go. Schopenhauer may have lived 2 centuries ago, but his insights speak directly to our modern struggles. We chase endlessly, more money, more recognition, more digital approval, and yet peace slips through our fingers. His philosophy reminds us that this cycle isn't a personal flaw, but a human condition driven by the restless will. The challenge is not to erase desire, but to see it clearly, to pause, and to choose differently. Whether through art, reflection, mindfulness, or compassion, we can carve out spaces of stillness within the chaos. And maybe, in those rare moments, we find a deeper kind of freedom, one that endless craving can never give.